Welcome to the Nostalgia Test Podcast, the show where two longtime friends put their mainstream pop culture past to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test.
How's everything? How you doing?
It took me 45 minutes to find parking because Astoria is now, party capital of the world. Can't wait till they shut down the bars. Yeah, after I told you when I was like, I just got to Queens, it took me 40 minutes from that time to find parking.
So I'm sitting here with the entire transcript to strategic grill locations.
Where did you get that? Because I was looking and I got a mix of quotes. I mean, they're pretty much a lot of the strategic grill, but...
Because there are jokes missing on the one on Spotify because they remixed the whole thing.
Oh, it's definitely... There's one that I was like, there's something missing here.
Yeah, I just...
I was looking at some of his, like some of people's favorite quotes. I'm like, that wasn't on it. I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
So.
I know. Well, hey, here we are again.
Hold on. Let me do this right. Because my phone, if you see my phone, this is what it looks like right now. So I can't really see anything.
Manny, what is happening? What is
happening? My phone dropped. My phone dropped the other day.
You have a zero case, man. You need
this case is a good case.
What is that?
It's a good case. It's a good case. Dude,
none
of the cases, bro, none of the cases
OtterBox.
do. No, bro, I've had an OtterBox. Nothing is Manny proof.
Well,
I even have a life proof one, and I'm like, I need to be the testing subject of all these cases because nothing has ever lasted.
You're doing something. It's like you're throwing your phone down like 5 flights.
No, you know what happened? This actually landed on a screw.
How?
Like that. It just fell on a screw. And so instead of, because one time it was in an OtterBox, and it fell on an outlet. So the outlet was up above where the OtterBox bounces off. So it fell in the middle and it cracked the screen. So I was like, do I get a free,
Hey, OtterBox, we're talking to you, all right? Do we get a free case here?
Do I get a free OtterBox case?
So OtterBox, Manny needs a free case. He broke his OtterBox.
I need a free case. I want to be a tester. They got to have people that are like, what is your lifestyle like?
What is the Manny lifestyle?
This one broke because it fell off of the brew table and then it fell onto, I guess, the screw or something. Because it started way back up here in the corner and it slowly came down in the middle. So now I just look like, when I'm texting, I don't see some of the things that I'm texting, which doesn't matter anyway because I can't spell for shit. So it all looks like bad anyway. I do have someone coming to replace it on Wednesday.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Nostalgia Test Podcast. This is cell phone talk with Manny and Dan.
That's right.
I'm Dan Dissinger here in LA. My co-host Manny Coelho there in New York. Manny, how you doing? Besides
my cracked phone, living life in COVID style, living with masks, talking about masks. My whole life is just talking about masks and making people wear masks at my tasting room. It's great.
I can't imagine.
Great.
But it's good. Great. At least you're open.
I love that. That's all people are really talking about right now instead of just actual conversations. And then it turns into a whole other thing. So wear sunscreen, wear a seatbelt, wear a mask. Done. Science.
All three things just do. And, if you need an escape from life, I suggest listening to Mitch Hedberg's first album, Strategic Grill Locations, which is the focus of our conversation today. We are going back to
1999.
Yes, we're going back to 1999 to revisit Mitch Hedberg's first album, Strategic Grill Locations. And Manny, before we even get into Mitch Hedberg and a little bit about Mitch Hedberg and just a little bit about this album, this is an album that you and I definitely was such at the center of our friendship, our experience with stand-up comedy. This album meant everything to me. His comedy has meant everything to me. It's unbelievable to kind of go back and listen and really break into it with you. What kind of thoughts you have about Strategic Grill Locations or memories, before we even get into Mitch Hedberg and who he is and everything for our audience.
So you held back on the facts, which I'm happy about for a moment because, dude, First of all, I want to thank you for introducing me to this fine gentleman. The GOAT is what I would call him because I remember the first day you came over with this. Was it a CD? It was a CD
Yeah, it
or
was a
something.
CD.
How did we start listening to it?
This was
It was a
the
CD.
first time I got it, it was a
The first
burned
time,
CD. Yeah,
yeah,
it was
a
a
burnt
burned
CD.
CD, one track, one long track, one burn track that was like about 70 something minutes long. And that's how I first heard this album.
Yeah, I still remember where it was when I first heard this album. We were actually, you want to hear it? This is what I recall is that, and this might have been blended together with something another night, but we were playing Rocky on one of our game systems that I got, and you put this on in the background, and it blew my mind. Like at first, I was like, "What is this? What are we listening to?" Even had that skip. Remember, it skipped, and I thanked you for like this. Definitely reminds me of our friendship. We talk about it all the time. We quote him all the time. I was so happy that we could do this episode because I knew where this test was gonna go and how I was gonna end up anyway. But I was happy to do this one and go back and listen to the original because now I listen to like essentials on Apple iTunes when I do want to listen to Mitch, and it kind of mixes all the different CDs, even the one that was released after his passing. But dude, if people haven't listened to Mitch Hedberg and don't know who Mitch Hedberg is, they're missing out on a great, I guess, just a different way of looking at stand-up comedy. And I unbelievable. I
Yeah,
love him.
I remember first hearing this and it blew my mind. I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't believe that stand-up comedy could just be so straightforward because now when I think of comedy, it's it's really in my face all the time. It's like, it's trying to do several things, make you laugh and at the same time shock you, at the same time push the boundaries of what's can be offensive or not offensive. But with Mitch Hedberg, you listen to Mitch Hedberg and you're just like, oh, it just makes you laugh. It makes you happy. It makes you feel good. There's just his voice and the way he says things, the way he writes jokes, just genius. All of it. And that was the thing. He's such an amazing writer. People, when they first hear this, and when I first showed it to people, they just brushed it off as Mitch Hedberg is just a stoner. We don't care. It just sounds stupid. But the thing about Mitch Hedberg is he was a meticulous writer. These jokes went through revisions and drafts and multiple drafts so that he could get the right wording and the right combination of words into his work. And there's a lot of wordplay, really amazing wordplay in his jokes. So you really have to listen to it. And that's why I loved it. And that's why I loved when we would listen to it. It was like almost like isolating us from the rest of the world because everyone else was maybe hanging out or something. We're just like, yeah, okay, it's Mitch Hedberg. And then it's done. Like everyone else is like, what are he doing? Because even when I was listening to this, I started immediately, not even thinking, like unconsciously repeating and just doing the jokes out loud. I was repeating and it was weird. I would line by line, I knew every single joke, and I feel like that was just the thing about Mitch Hedberg was the memorization of his jokes was so a part of his comedy. But yeah, I mean, I remember you telling me that either you burned the album or you borrowed it from me or somehow you were taking a trip and then you were in the car with someone and they ripped this out of the radio and threw it out their window, which I was just like, I cannot believe that that's the reaction that Mitch Hedberg would get from someone.
Dude, I was about to tell that story. My friend, and I'm going to mention his first name. He knows if he's listening to this. Jeff threw it out the window because he thought it was crap. Okay? Fast forward, I'm sure he's listening to this and he knows. He then realized how funny it was and he repeats some of the things out of that album. Problem is that I set it up, it was stand-up comedy, you gotta listen to it. And it's not in your face and you have to let it settle and let it and start to realize what this guy's doing. And yeah, I still remember that when we were going up to Vermont and he threw it out the window. He ejected it and he threw the CD. I was so mad because I think I had to call you again to get it reburned because I was like, dude, are you kidding me? But yeah, it was awesome, man. What a great man, the CD is just it starts off so good. The wordplay, you know what's funny? The one joke that I really like is the suitcase. You know, I always wanted a suitcase handcuffed to my wrist. And he like explains, he's like, that's not even a full joke. It's a filler. He has like a couple fillers in this album.
Oh yeah.
That you're just like, wait, what? He's like, is there something about sports? He's like, nah, I don't play it. Get the fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah.
it's really funny. Like, chocolate makes me happy, I have to admit. Like, what?
I know, and it's just, if you love weird language jokes or just sitting there and just being washed over by words, then Mitch Hedberg is for you. If you are looking for a comedian that's gonna be loud and in your face, then you might not like it right away. But I do think that when people do give Mitch Hedberg a chance, that he wins them over all the time. I've seen it in his specials when the crowd wasn't into it. There's a Comedy Central special where if you watch the whole cut, not the Comedy Central cut, it's much longer, and he goes into old jokes to get the crowd on his side. Then he reverts back to new material, and he finishes the special off. So he is really, really intelligent when it comes to writing jokes and performing jokes, and he definitely knew how to win the crowd over. And it's a shame that, Mitch Hedberg has passed away. And I think, to me, as a fan of his, it was quite the blow when I heard that he had passed away. But I mean, he did leave behind quite a discography of jokes and a lot of great interviews. And there's just a lot of work out there for you still to kind of engage with.
You saw him live with me, right?
Yeah, we saw him live once. I think you then went.
Dude, I slapped his hand. 5. He gave me a high five. And 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from my friend Matt saying, I'm really sorry for your loss. Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he told me that Mitch Hedberg passed away. And I thought he was joking. I was like, what are you talking about? And why did you call me? He's like, dude, I know how much you like him. And I didn't realize how much I talked about him until that I even got a phone call from somebody that I'm really good friends with about not a celebrity, but a public figure. And that I just had seen him 2 weeks before that. He was so good.
Yeah.
It was so good. Like, man, I missed that. Man, I'm just getting upset. Like, just thinking about it, what he would have been now, just the genius that he was. And I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know any comic like him right now. Some people have compared certain people, and I listen, and it doesn't hook me as much. Like, everything about this album was planned. Like, there's even a part, we were talking about this about Dane Cook a few episodes ago, how you needed to see Dane Cook. Yeah. And a lot of Mitch Hedberg's jokes, you don't need to see at all. It's perfect listening material. Yeah. Like you said, we'd be at parties, it would be on, other people would be talking, they're in the background. Me and you are focused and being like, oh, look at this. This is when he gets here. This is when this happens. And he even improvs in the later albums. The recording was so funny, but, oh, man, so good. Yeah. Let's get into the recording. Let's get into how it starts.
But let's also, before we even get into it, let's give a little fact. So just a little background on Mitch Hedberg. We didn't get.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have Dan the Fax Man. Fax Man. He's here. Fax Man, he's going to come at you with how much money this album made, how much he made it for, and, all the other statistics brought to you by Dan the Fax Man.
Yeah, so if you don't know Mitch Hedberg, which I suggest definitely finding out about Mitch Hedberg, looking at his work and everything. Mitch Hedberg, born on February 24th, 1968, unfortunately passed away March 29th, 2005, was an American stand-up comedian known for his surreal humor and deadpan delivery. His comedy typically featured short, sometimes one-line jokes mixed with absurd elements and non sequiturs. Hedberg's comedy and onstage persona gained him a cult following, with audience members sometimes shouting out the punchlines to his jokes before he could finish them. Unfortunately, he died of an overdose in 2005, but he has left such an amazing mark on the comedy world, on his fans, and I feel like, even past the comedy world, he was such an amazing human being to see and listen to. He's just so good-natured. Strategic Grill Locations, which was his first album, the one we're going to talk about, it was recorded at the Laugh Stop in Houston, Texas on September 7th, 1999. The album was originally self-published by Hedberg and sold through his website and at shows. In conjunction with the release of his second album, Mitch Altogether, the Comedy Central label also re-released this album, editing some jokes that didn't get much attention. Though I would disagree with that re-release editing, because the jokes that they edited out, they didn't really understand that the reaction was perfect. It was exactly what we need. That is exactly the Mitch Hedberg experience. And I know I'm going off track on the facts, but you need to get all of Mitch Hedberg in all the time. The highs, the lows, and everything, because you missed the improv, and we'll talk about that. This re-release was packaged in a digipack. The original release featured a different cover, and the album's length is 53 minutes and 45 seconds. But the original one, without the edited, was around 70 minutes long, if I remember correctly. So those are just some of the facts that we have out there.
Thank you, Dan. Now, back to the fact that they edited this album. Remember when you said that he was interviewed one time and they asked him when he released it for the internet and it was the longer version, the one that we listened to, they asked, how come you left like jokes that didn't work? He's like, I love comedy, even the bad parts, even the silence, the bombs. It's all comedy. It's all about the reaction, no matter it be hysterical laughing or just no laughing. Like, he loved all of it. He loved all of it, and he wanted to keep it in. He didn't think that anyone should edit anything.
Right. And not even that. Mitch Hedberg is one of the most unbelievable comedians because he loved sitting in a silence. There's no comedian that I think did it better than Mitch Hedberg. I know some people might argue and say Stephen Wright, really amazing comedian as well, deadpan one-liners, but no one sat in an awkward silence of a dead joke, of a joke that totally fell flat, like Mitch Hedberg. He would sit in that silence, and then he would get laughs in that silence. That was the best part. The silence was funny.
That was the best part when, like, remember he's like, there's a show, I think it's a comedy show. He's like, oh, you came to this comedy show, you didn't even know who this was. And like, he just loved it. Like, all right, you don't like me, but I'm going to get you to like me.
Yeah.
And that's the joy in it. It was unbelievable. It was great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, he loved this. I mean, I've never seen God. Okay, so I mean, this recording in itself though was so amazing. And to me, one of my favorite comedy albums as well because of the use of the bass guitar, the use of that music in the background.
Don't fuck up the bass, Chuck. Listen, that was the best because it sounded like you basically wanted to listen to this. Easy listening, just in the background, some bass music going on. It was cool, man. That was really cool. Chuck was improvising. Mitch was improvising. If you notice, and I only noticed this recently because I was really listening to it and trying to like think, like, what can I bring to the conversation today that I never really noticed? You know how he's like, these are the CV jokes. I whittled the list down today, right? He's laying out all the jokes on the floor or on the table. He's got pages of jokes. And he's just like, as he's reading, as he's doing these one-liners, he's just looking at like, couple words and then going with the joke. I remember like, these are the CV jokes. I thought that was just like him saying that. I didn't realize that he probably had sheets of papers just scattered around everywhere in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
As he was doing this album.
There's a part
So that was funny in itself.
Oh, yeah.
He just like lays it out. Like, here we go. But obviously we couldn't see it. But
that
was the only time you really had to see what he's doing. Unless you want to talk about the zigzagging sandwich, but he, so good.
but even in the CD jokes part, he lets everyone in on it. He's like, because there's a joke that he does, and then it didn't work or something, and then he talks about the list bending up, and he can't read it, which is the list of jokes that he's reading off of on the side. He's like, the list of the list is bending up. I can't read it. And I'm like, what? I love that he's so meta about even his experience. He's just like telling jokes, talking about being the joke teller, and then talking about the silence that happened in the jokes. So you're getting a joke, you're getting his experience as the teller of the joke, whether it bombed or not, and he's commenting on all of it. And it's like, it's such a different type of experience from stand-up comedy. Instead of like being a script and someone goes from the beginning to the end and then so polished. There's nothing polished about this. And even all the other albums that came out afterwards, the two others, not polished at all either. He loved just being on the stage, I feel like.
I don't want to ask the favorite just yet. Maybe I should.
Well, I have some jokes that didn't make it on the album that when I went.
Oh, like they were in the original?
Yeah. that I'm like was looking for to hear, and I was just like, why wasn't that on it? One of my favorite ones was the one about the $2 bill, where he's like, I saw some $2 bills today. They were on sale for $8. Something went wrong there, and he's like talking about how he misses a two because he could break a two. Dead silence in the crowd after he says it, and it's just like, and then he just makes that comment. He's like, "If the jokes go down, Chuck, just pick it up, whatever." Like, but he saves that joke with a joke about the bombing of a joke, and that's why you can't edit his work. You can't edit Mitch Hedberg. It should be one track all the time because his joke bombs, and then he makes a joke about the bomb, and that's what's funny.
Every time I see a $2 bill, I'm like, I could break it too. Like, it's such a great. That was such a great joke, and I actually have a $2 bill in a tip jar at the brewery. That like one day I was working behind the bar and I got 3 $2 bills handed to me by different people.
That is
and I was like, well, one of these is staying here. Yesterday, actually, somebody asked if they could take the $2 bill because he had $2 and change. He's like, if I could break this too, can I take it? I was like, absolutely fucking not. I was like, first of all, I don't care if you could break it too. I was like, you're not taking that $2 bill. That thing's been there for a year because that day I got 3 $2 bills. Who has 3 $2 bills? And I still remember that joke. Like I was like, oh, that's the joke. Yeah, and it's not in the one that you downloaded with from like iTunes. It's not in there, the edited one. That's why I don't know how you could find the raw version of this one because
I looked at
some jokes that you should not get rid of. Like that's a good joke.
It's a great joke because it's so bad, but it's so ridiculous.
That's good, but it's so Mitch. I still do that with all my other friends that I got into Mitch Hedberg. I could break it too. I missed it too. I could break it too.
And it's things that you don't think that are weird, but then they're super weird. But the genius of that joke is that it set up an improvised joke right after it. And he was able to capitalize on it because Mitch Hedberg, he loved comedy so much that perfection wasn't in his way. Like he wasn't there to be perfect. He was there to have fun. He was there to make sure the crowd had fun. And if it was at the expense of a bad joke and him making fun of his own joke, then I mean he does that again early on. When he did that joke about the frozen banana, I think it was. And then after the frozen
First of all,
joke,
that's not a bad joke, and that's yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like the frozen banana joke is great. We'll talk about why that joke is amazing. But
I love that. That's one of my favorite jokes.
I mean, is it right after that joke?
Go ahead.
Is it right after that joke when he goes, some guy asked me if I wanted some cherries, and I waited to see if he was going to say tomatoes. It's cherries just, and then he totally stops in the middle of the joke. You're like, that joke's just ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, he's like, that's a carbon copy of the other joke, just with different ingredients. And that was the best.
That's the best.
Dude, there's one that didn't make it in, I don't think. The one that says, he's like, if you lose your wallet, it's hard to dance. Hey, I lost my wallet. This song is funky. Fuck it. All right.
Yeah.
That's just not good, boy. This CD is called Hit or Miss. Like, nobody got that. And I understand it. Because if you're at a bar or something and you lose your wallet and you still want to have a good time, all you're thinking about is that you lost your wallet. And I thought that was so funny. How that joke didn't kill was, I mean, like, why?
All you need is one person to have a wallet and be like, yeah, I get that. Like how, like if you've lost anything, like now you can say your phone, like, oh shit, where's my phone? Oh man, this song's awesome. Like I think the thing about Mitch Hedberg, which is why he's so genius, is the simplicity. When people go like, okay, that was so difficult, it went right over your head. Mitch's simplicity, people aren't ready for it. They're just like, all right, comedian, I'm here to see something, try to understand this joke. Do I get it? It's so real life that people are like, well, I wasn't expecting that. Like, and all of a sudden it takes a second and it's like, oh, but over time when you hear it, like Mitch Hedberg, like his work just marinates in you, like in a way that you're just like, it just infects your brain. I mean, when I was living in Colorado and I was doing poetry mics, open mics, now we're going to go deep into my life. And as a poet, I used to sometimes open with a Mitch Hedberg joke because poetry open mics are so weird sometimes and everyone is so serious that I was like, we need to break this up a bit. So I would walk up to the mic, do a Mitch Hedberg joke, usually sometimes the one about the banana and like, a yellow banana means the color on the banana.
Such a good joke.
Such an amazing joke. And I do that. and then go, all right, so I'm going to read my first poem now. And everyone was like, what is happening? I mean, his jokes are poems. His jokes were perfectly tightly written, just in a way, just poetry.
That joke, the banana joke, and let me recite it, please, if you don't mind. But on traffic light, green means go, yellow means stop. No, sorry. Let me redo it again. On traffic light, green means go, yellow means yield. But on a banana, it's just the opposite. Green means hold on, yellow means go ahead, and red means where the fuck did you get that banana at? Great joke. What a great joke, man. I love that joke. That is one of my favorite jokes that he says. And best part too is how he says it. He did sound stoned, but I don't think he was, in my opinion. I think that was his whole thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yes, he obviously he died of an overdose and stuff, but I feel like he knew how he needed to be like this laid back guy. Maybe he was stoned. I don't know. But maybe he was that's just how his demeanor was. This is how I have to be on stage. And the way these jokes work is so chill that you're like, oh, is he stoned? I'm not really sure, but he kind of sounds like a stoner. But is that the joke and the ironic that he's playing with us, that he's not really stoned, that he actually is thinking like he's doing this on purpose? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think?
You know, it was funny when I first started listening to him, I was just like, yeah, this guy's a stoner. This is stoner comedy. At some point, it was only this album. So, I mean, we were listening to it all the time. I mean, there was nothing else out yet. I mean, it was just this. And this wasn't even officially out. So we were literally just listening to this album over and over and over again, even through the skip with the sponge joke. But you don't have...
Oh.
Yeah, but after a while, I was like not trying to figure out if he was stoned or drunk or whatever on stage. And I was just like, whatever he is, whatever he's doing, it's working, because his work was just so clear. You know how like you listen to some bands and people are like, oh, they must have been really high when they wrote this song. And I'm like, yeah, but that would really kind of, to me, kill the idea of like how awesome that song is, right? Like a band like I love, like Pink Floyd, and I was like, oh man, they must have been really high when they wrote those songs. And I'm like, have you listened to how intricate they are? I don't know if you can layer that many guitar tracks onto that song and not be inside your mind and body. So I feel like with Mitch, I feel like with Mitch Hedberg, I'm like, possibly, but at the same time, the craft of writing in his life, like how seriously he took the craft of writing, and that's why his jokes are this way. And I feel like his speech pattern, that's just like what he sounded like in many, many ways. I mean, he's from the Midwest, I believe. So I think the way he spoke kind of like matched that. So,
Dude,
yeah.
A snake bite emergency kit is a body bag.
That wasn't on. Didn't they take that? Was that off the edited?
No, that one was in there. That was in there.
Okay. Maybe see, so many jokes happened that I forgot what was even on the edited version. You started.
This one wasn't, ready? This one wasn't, and then this is how he follows it up. Onions make me sad. A lot of people don't realize that. When I'm cutting onions, I'm sad because just the plague of onions. It's very sad. A lot of people don't realize it's actually they think I'm just reacting. And then he's like, so that bombed. And he's like, fuck. He's like, fuck. This CD is gonna be full of jokes that were better in a year. What?
Yeah, but there's a joke that they took off. I believe that was so good that I was just like so angry that they took it off the album, or maybe I missed it. And it was just like, if you boat a lot, you're known as a boating enthusiast. I like to boat, but I just don't want to be referred to as a boating enthusiast. Oh, they call me a guy who likes to boat. Like, if you don't understand how funny that is, then I don't know, maybe you're not enjoying life, because that joke is perfect. And I feel like with Mitch Hedberg, he wants you to enjoy life, everything around you. His jokes make you want to enjoy. And I haven't listened to actually Mitch Hedberg in a while. And I've, obviously with everything happening in the world, you're feeling down and feeling like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, how are we getting past everything? 2020 is such a dumpster fire. But then you go to Mitch Hedberg and it's like, okay, I could find the good in the simple everyday items that are even around me, and just like the joy and simplicity of life in general, and not have to try to I just shocked myself out of the system with something so extraordinary, where like everything about him was like, let's look at the ordinary for a minute, and find joy and comedy out of that, and we could do it together. I mean, he was so that's kind of how like every time I listen to Mitch Hedberg, it just makes me smile immediately hearing his voice.
Ah, it's great. Yo, was the Carmax? No, that was the Coleslaw highlighter. Was that part of this one and the other
I think that was on another one.
other one? I didn't realize there was this one about tanning beauty tricks.
No,
That
yeah,
joke did
they
not.
didn't
He's like
transcribe it.
He's like, that's a dumb joke, man. Fuck. He's like, I think I'm doing open mic for the CD recording. Fuck, that's right. Any joke that doesn't work, Chuck wrote it.
Yeah, there you go. Like he like digs himself into a hole and finds his way out of that hole, and that's what I don't know. That's the genius of Mitch Hedberg. I mean, total genius. Have you ever met other people that listen to Mitch Hedberg that you just didn't think that they listened to him, or people that don't like Mitch Hedberg?
First of all, no, I haven't met anyone that doesn't like him. I have met people who don't know of him, but I am shocked, or there's like a great feeling, like, I guess, I mean, I listen to Howard Stern, and, there's like, oh, Baba Booey, and like people like kind of get a thing. Yeah. With Mitch Hedberg fans, you find them out because there's something that happens in life, and then there's a quote. Then all of a sudden, like, oh, wait, you like Mitch Hedberg? Like, and everybody repeats the quote at the same time. Like, when there's something that happens, I have a bunch of friends that own a coffee shop next door, and I was listening to this album as I was walking into the coffee shop. I was, like, repeating it out loud because I just couldn't hear myself, and they finished it. I'm like, they're like, you listen to Mitch? I was like, it's just so cool to see how many people know, like, that you're not really sure of that know him. Once they know you know him, all you do is go back and forth on the jokes, because some jokes are so quick and such like great one-liners that you could just go back and forth for about a half hour, and then like you're talking about something else, and then like you'll pull out a filler, or like I got ducks outside and they all want sun chips. Like, what? It makes me want to listen to the rest of the albums after listening to this. This album, though, it brought me back to that time in the basement, the day that you brought it over, and how I think we listened to it twice.
That's quite true. It's quite possible.
Because of, like, you had to listen to it to be like, what did I miss? There's so much that's going on in this album. So much, dude. I like to play blackjack. I'm not addicted to gambling. I'm just addicted to sitting in a semicircle.
I mean, and then the thing is, like, you can imagine yourself in that moment. See, now when I listen to him, I'm just like, for some reason, my brain imagines him as this animated figure doing his jokes. So, like, I don't know what happened. Something happened to my brain where, like, all of a sudden, as soon as I start hearing Mitch Hedberg jokes, I imagine him as this animated cartoon, and his jokes are happening to him. He's, like, walking through his jokes as, like, this animated figure. It's funny you say that, like, listening to it twice, because I believe, yes, we definitely did that. But Mitch Hedberg's comedy has to be listened to more than once. And even when you listen to it, you forget a joke because he says so many jokes. There's not a moment where there's not a joke coming to you. There is almost zero setup. There's no segues. It's just like one joke after another, and you're just there listening. And the one thing I love about comedy albums is, like, audience reactions. And I feel like Mitch Hedberg's audience reactions are some of the best reactions, because he never gets almost a whole audience all the time laughing at the same time. It's always like certain people get it and they lose their ever-living minds.
There's that one girl that's in this album that should have been mic'd. She sounded like she was mic'd. she loses her shit a lot of the times, and you almost laugh at her reaction. It's also funny when you hear when she gets the joke. Like, he says it, and there's like, he's already moved on to another joke, and she's laughing later. It's like, oh, I just got it. It's so good.
Yeah,
so
like,
good.
Your brain is catching up to the things that he just said, because you really don't believe that it's going to be that simple. You're kind of looking to try to solve a puzzle that's not there. But then sometimes it is, because there's that joke about, I haven't slept for 10 days because it'd be too long. And at
Oh.
first you're just like, what? And then you're like, oh God, oh my God. And it's like clever wordplay, but it's so well written. I mean, you have to be a good writer to be a good comedian. I think sometimes now we don't get that. I think right now there are amazing comedians that are amazing writers, but I feel like sometimes we are getting comedy that's doing something that's much more about shock, and the writing isn't strong. You're gonna miss the mark on that. Where like Mitch, if he does miss the mark, he's ready right behind it to save that bombed joke with a freestyle improvised comment on that joke, But because he's always writing, he's always in his head writing, always thinking. And I feel like because he has that type of brain, this album, being his first album, is super strong. It's like evergreen. These jokes don't age. They don't age.
They're just about things that happen last.
Unless things like disappear, like there's no bananas ever again. Whenever
this is the greatest. Another filler. Where I used to be a hot tile roofer. Yeah, I remember that day. Like, what? I used to be a hot tile roofer. I remember that day. And you're like, okay. It was just, it's so subtle. Or like, what was it? Severed foot is the perfect stocking stuffer.
That is one of the greatest jokes written of all time. I mean, I couldn't even think of it. I couldn't even think of that ever. I mean, there are days I would play this in my class, teaching, or my students are coming into class and I'd have like a Mitch Hedberg album on, just because I would watch my students react to it. They're just sitting there going, what is happening? Because it's not comedy the way they're used to. It's just clever wordplay, odd observations, and just fun. And I think that's the other thing, and I said it before, it's fun. Mitch Hedberg is all about fun. It's all about having a good time, and you need that balance. You know what I mean? Like at the same time that I was into Mitch Hedberg, I was getting heavy into Bill Hicks. And you have the total opposites. Bill Hicks, in your face. I won't even call him a shock comic. He's not. He's in your face, social commentary, super smart, screaming at the audience, just unreal comic. I mean, I love Bill Hicks. He's also passed away as well, in the 90s. And then at the same time, I'm listening to Mitch Hedberg. And I feel like you need that balance. You can't be all one thing. It's an impossibility, right? Because if you're all Mitch Hedberg, you start talking like him. I remember like when we listened to it all the time, we start speaking like him.
Oh, speaking exactly like him. I used to quote it to people. Used to be like, you sound exactly like him. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You take on the way he speaks, to his cadence and everything.
Yeah, but then you get right in their face about it, because you go, well, I'm a mumbler. I mumble a lot on stage. It's like, because you have an answer for them. Like, even if they say
my
something.
friend can't hear me. He says, what? So I say it again. He still can't hear me. It's like, what? And really, it's some insignificant shit that I'm saying. So now I'm screaming, that tree is far away.
Oh, my God. The first
time. You know how
time
many times I use that line because I'm a mumbler?
There you go, right? Like, because you need to. Like, even with the Dane Cook, like when we were talking about Dane Cook, it's that thing about like punch you in the face, like things like punch every bee in the face.
Punch a bee in the face.
It's funny when a comic and their work starts to really become part of everything that you do, so that when people say things to you, and I do this all the time, like I pull a joke from a comedian out of the air, and I'm like, oh, it reminds me of this joke here, and that reminds me of this joke from this comedian. This reminds me of this joke from this comedian. And it's like, obviously, I'm listening to comedy all the time, but it becomes so much a part of your everyday because you see it in your everyday. And I think that's what makes Mitch Hedberg so good, because there's nothing that he's saying that doesn't have a little bit of truth behind it, and that.
No, it's every day.
Crazy.
Like everything about it. Like, there's so much. Like, I'm looking at all my favorites, but they're all so good. Like, I can't even. pick what my favorite would be, is like koala bears is the cutest infestation ever.
Oh my God.
Infested with koala bears.
Oh
When
my
I open
God.
the door, koala bear scatters.
Oh my God. I know.
I don't want to. I want to hold you and pat you on the back of the head. Like, what are you telling? What are you saying?
I
I
know.
bought an ant farm. Them fellas didn't grow shit.
I mean, even the way he opens the album, what's funny about the way this album opens is that, and we're jumping all over the place, but whatever, it's Mitch Hedberg. It's that,
Yeah.
like, immediately he starts talking about making the album. That's the joke.
Sure.
He's already telling jokes. People don't know that it's happening to them, that they're getting jokes. And they're just like, all right, this guy's up here waiting to tell jokes. And he's just like, these are the CD jokes, blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking about how funny that is. The best part about that is he does that again. He revises that whole thing in some way for the second album and Mitch Altogether, when he talks about like how, oh, we're going to wait some people in the bathroom before we start recording. But then he goes, can they hear us in the bathroom? And then he goes, oh, these are the people here. And he uses every second for comedy. Every second for comedy. And that's what I love about being an audience member of his albums or when we saw him live, is that he knows the people are there to have a good time. So I'm going to use every second to make sure that they have a good time. So every second is for comedy.
Remember the joke about him blocking the fire exit?
Oh my God.
And he's like, put a dash and my name after it. He's like, that's what I want to be remembered as, a dash. If you're flammable and you have legs, you're never blocking a fire exit. You can put a dash behind that and put my name after it. He has so many dashes. He gave it to me as a gift, one of the quotes.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. He's
good.
Everything. I mean, that one, I love that other joke he does, from this album about the, I was in a park and I saw a kid flying a kite. He was so excited that his kite was in the sky. I don't know why. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, if he had a chair at the other end of that string, I would have known. Imagine trying to fly a chair. You'd have to run like a motherfucker. Seeing it though, seeing the words down and looking at it, it's like, oh my God, this man wrote this. He sat there and he wrote this joke. I mean, he literally sat there and wrote that joke and then revised whatever it is, and then he has the filler, not before that, like popsicles are for the summertime. What does that even mean? What does that mean?
He's like, spaghetti. And they're like, what? Spaghetti. I can't eat spaghetti. No matter how hungry I am, 1,000 of something is too many.
But I mean, it's so ridiculous. But the popsicles one, I'm thinking like, that doesn't make sense. But of course it does. Because when do you eat popsicles? You never get them for the winter or anything.
No.
Now I live in LA. It's year round. I'm eating ice pops. But I mean, when I was a kid, you don't get popsicles until it's summertime. That's it.
No, but they're around all the time, but you never talk about it until summertime.
Yeah, no one's getting you popsicles. They're not saying have popsicles. They're like, oh, you can only have popsicles because it's summer. And what I love about that joke is because it's true. It's absolutely 100% true. I never had a popsicle when I was a kid until it was summer. And that was, 2-3 months? Once that time was up, guess what? Popsicles are gone until next summer.
God, or if they're still in your freezer, you ain't taking that out until the summertime.
No, because your mom's going to kill you. Like, if you're a kid and you're like, I need that popsicle, it's like, no, you're not. Like, it's too cold.
No, it's for the summertime.
Too cold. Like, what are you talking about?
Dude, what about snake eyes? That's a gambling term. It's an animal term, too. What?
Dude, but wait a second. This is one of my favorite jokes that bombed. Really, like, this is one of my favorite jokes that bombed. I saw a soda pop for $1.20 in a 6-pack, That price fucks with your head. But you're going to start thinking you're going to sell pop. But with me, it's like pop, man. It's like, what's going on, Mitch? Not much, man. Looking to buy some pop? It's 50 cents a can. It's not refrigerated. This is a half-ass commitment. But it's not, like, when you think about it, like, when he said it out loud, the crowd's just like, what? And then he's just like after that joke, like, that joke's bombs. And then he goes, My friend says, I think the weather's trippy. And I say, no, man, it's not the weather that's trippy. Perhaps it's the way we perceive it that is indeed trippy. Then I thought, man, I should have just said, yeah. Like that, and that joke is amazing. So he knows how to
Amazing.
like line that stuff up. Even when he thinks like, this is the list of jokes, this is every joke I have. He made an order. He knew the order. There's no way that he just like haphazardly put this together. I can't believe that. It's an impossibility. I can't believe it.
Bro, you can go like this. This is a whole section, right? He's like, as a comedy, you got to start the show strong and you got to end the show strong. Can't be like pancakes. All of a sudden, but at the end, you're just sick of them. That's hilarious. And then he moves right on to a waffle is like a pancake with a syrup trap. Filler. Then he continues to go, I put fruit on the top of my waffle because I just wanted something to brush off. Like, what?
But that's true.
I put fruit on my top of my waffle because I wanted something to brush off. Because no one eats the waffle and the fruit together. You eat it separately.
But then all those jokes, all those breakfast jokes are true. Pancakes,
Yes.
after a while you're just like, whoa.
You get sick of them. Dude, you can't. A 3-stack of pancake is insane. It's insane. You have to be ready and willing to not move for a while after that.
Yeah,
Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
then it's like, I have a cheese shredder at home. That's a positive name for it. Cheese shredder. They don't call it by the negative name because nobody would buy it. Sponge ruiner. Because I wanted to clean it. But now I have little bits of sponge that would easily melt over tortilla chips.
That's where the skip happened in our CD. That was where the skip happened. It skipped there, I think.
Yes, and then we had to listen to the joke again.
Yeah, that's where the skip happened. One of the greatest jokes ever written. I mean, obviously, people could tell how excited we are at this album. Mitch Hedberg is quite possibly my favorite comic. It showed me the fun of comedy, and it introduced me to other comedians later on that were also having fun with words and having fun with comedy and didn't take themselves too seriously. Comedy can be fun. Comedians like Kathleen Madigan. I don't know if you listen to Kathleen Madigan. She's hilarious. She's got a great discography of albums. Or Maria Bamford. I don't know. Do you ever listen to Maria Bamford?
No. I've actually stepped away from stand-up comedy for a little bit. I gotta go back into it. This album has definitely gotten me back into it. I just wanted to say I'm against picketing, but I don't know how to show it.
I mean, come on. But you do But you do that, and then all of a sudden you do this joke. If you wear leather pants around, people will make fun of you inevitably. You got leather pants on. I like to make fun of people who have skin on their legs. You're wearing skin. Whatever. That's dumb there, boy. Help me out. I don't even know what that means. But why would he put it in? See, that's the question I have. I know he's choosing every joke, but he had to have known. He's all right, that joke's just gonna bomb, but it's gonna be really great in between the foosball joke and the I never joined the army joke. There's this really weird part here that I'm gonna put in there. And it just is such an odd thing when you look at the jokes and how they line up. It just is so odd the way it works.
Is the 2 for a while joke in this one? It is. Right? What's it? 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. When I pick up, you'll know it's me.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
Dude, dude, we could go on. We could basically just do the whole album, but I would say you were just saying it before. He's just so good. If you haven't heard this album and you've been sitting through this podcast this long, I'm basically just watching us try to recite and try to have the cadence that Mitch Hedberg has. You need to go, after this podcast, go and listen to this first album and go right to the next one because it doesn't stop. Even the second one just didn't stop. The Sunships one, the Ducks Eat Free at Subway.
What is that? What does that even mean?
It's for a duck. Oh, it's free. Oh, I didn't know ducks eat free at Subway.
Oh my God!
I got 6 ducks outside, and they all want Sunships.
Dude, first of all, here's the thing. Right, if you've come this far in the podcast and you've never heard Mitch Hedberg, just like, we're not going anywhere. Stop the podcast and listen to this album and then come back. But, you have to understand, like, this is a moment in comedy time because, before he died, he was right about to hit. I mean, he was really gaining momentum, and then he unfortunately passed away. And it's funny because I was looking at videos online, and there was this hilarious interview with Nick DiPaolo. I don't know, the comedian Nick DiPaolo?
Yeah.
Do you know on the second album, Mitch Hedberg does that joke about his neighbor banging on the wall and say, just come around? You remember that joke? Where he's like, I used to play my music. I used to play my music loud, and my neighbor would bang on the wall, and then I was like, there's no door on this side. Come around. His neighbor was Nick DiPaolo. And Nick DiPaolo, so he said Mitch Hedberg used to play guitar in his apartment and really loudly and really badly, and he would bang on the wall. And one day he ended up on, an album, and he would see this napkin, or someone was doing a set, and it said on the napkin, like Mitch was doing a set, and there was a napkin, it was a bullet point, it said, Nick DiPaolo, comedian. Like, no, like that was a joke about him. That angry son of a bitch. Like he made him. Oh
my God.
I mean, unbelievable. But just to say, like, that Mitch Hedberg was, an unbelievable writer. There was this article that came out by this writer Tony Bridges on the blog.penvibe.com website, and it's a whole piece about this handwritten letter that Mitch Hedberg wrote to Uniball, and he wanted to get sponsored by the pen company. I just want to read this, and we're going to put the link in the podcast notes as well to this so people could look at it. But he goes, "Hi, I'm writing to the makers of the Uniball Gel Impact Pen. Unfortunately, I am doing so with the Pilot P500. As of this moment, I have yet to locate your magnificent pen in a store. As soon as I find one, I will purchase one. This is the deal. I'm a stand-up comedian. My name is Mitch Hedberg. I have been on The Late Show with David Letterman 6 times. I have a half-hour Comedy Central special that is played on the channel all the time. I've made a guest appearance on That 70s Show, and I have a very, very small role in the new Cameron Crowe film, Almost Famous. I've done just about every cable comedy show around. Right now, I am on tour in an RV with my wife. Our next stop is Raleigh, North Carolina. One evening, we pulled into into something to sleep. I don't know what that is. I had to fill out a registration slip, and a security guy handed me one of your gel impact pens to do the job. It was a very satisfying writing experience, to say very little. I would love to arrange a sponsorship deal with your company so I could plug the thing. I'd be so happy to wear a Uniball t-shirt on my next Letterman shot. I'd promote the pen anywhere, any way possible. I still handwrite most of my jokes. Perhaps I will type them more if Uniball unleashes a gel impact keyboard. I use pens constantly. Your pen is it. I've tried buying expensive pens, but none have lived up to the gel impact. So smooth and easy to control. Is there anything we can do together? Would you be interested in co-sponsoring a tour? We could put a large banner across the back of the stage. Gel Impact is responsible for the written versions of the jokes this comedian is saying. I'd be so proud. Let me know what you think, and thanks a ton for reading this. My pilot days are closing in. Sincerely, Mitch Hedberg. Sorry about any spelling mishaps."
What? Wow. What happened after that?
He didn't get sponsored. But I mean, like, think of it. Like,
bro, that's crazy.
But he was such a comedian. Like, everything he did was funny. The whole thing. We're gonna put a link up on the website so you can see it in the show notes, because everyone, I think, needs to read this piece by Tony Bridges, and it's an amazing letter. But let's be honest. This letter connects to one of his jokes about buying a $7 pen because he's losing pens all the time and he's sick of not caring.
Dude, even as a filler where it says, I lost my memory, but I have ink, so it's okay.
Yeah. When I read that letter, when I heard about it, I was just like, oh my God. I mean, this man, he's a writer. He loves the craft of writing, and it shows in his work. I mean, it's, even the last joke about the Dufresnes.
Dude, I was just about to do it.
Go.
I was going to end it with that. But first, I wanted to, before you said that, I remember you had told me a story too that he was a really good guy too. There was one time a fan was there or two fans were there and they were complaining that they didn't have AC and it was really hot or whatever. And like Mitch Hedberg like showed up to their apartment with an
Yeah,
AC unit.
yeah. Isn't that crazy? I mean, he
Crazy.
was a true comedian, and then he was also in the movie, the Dogtown Z Boys movie as well. He was the guy that brought the new.
Yeah, he was selling them. He was selling the wheels,
Yeah, he was the guy that came in with the
selling
new
the new
wheel.
wheels. Dude, this is it, right?
Here we go.
You know when you go to a restaurant on the weekends, it's busy, so they start waiting lists. They start calling out names. They say, Dufresne, party of two. Table's ready for Dufresne, party of two. And there's no one answers. They say their name again, Dufresne, party of two. But if no one answers, they just go right to the next one. Bush, party of three. Yeah, but what happened to the frames? No one seems to give a shit. The frames are somewhere in somebody's truck right now with duct tapes over their mouth, and they're hungry. That's a double whammy. We need help. Bush, search party of three. You can eat once you find the frames.
Ugh.
That was crazy. What a great joke.
I mean,
That was
according to
awesome.
this transcript, there's about 169 jokes almost. Or
169. Well,
some of the beginning stuff is not jokes, I guess, but they can be
it's about
jokes.
100. I would say it's about 160, 62 jokes.
Yeah,
It's insane.
yeah. I mean,
It's like
ugh.
I could type 100 words per minute, but it's in my own language.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're gonna leave also the link.
Is
to
the
this
fresher joke on that one?
No, that's on the Mitch Altogether
That's
album.
Mitch altogether.
Yeah, yeah. Which is funny. The title of that album comes from a joke on this album.
What's that
Uh,
joke?
it's corn. If people say, if people say corn.
Can you read it without looking it up?
Wait. Do you know how? Oh, when people talk
You
about
got it.
corn. That's corn on the cob. Yeah, that's just corn. Everything else is corn off the cob. It would be like if you were talking about me. You were talking about me, and oh, damn it, I can't.
It's a hard one, man. That one's a hard one.
Yeah.
That one's pretty funny though. He's like corn off the cob, corn on the cob. That's how it comes. Everything else should just be no. Everything else should be corn off the cob. He's like, it's not like if you cut off my arm and then put it back and say Mitch altogether.
Yeah. It's not if you cut off my arm and call it Mitch, and then reattach it and call it Mitch altogether. Which is like, you're right. Why is it called corn on the cob? Oh boy. But
I don't know, man. Dude, I mean, we could go on. This good, man. His observations are so smart, but like you said, subtle enough that you get the joke, and you're just like, oh yeah. And then that's why it's great, like all the different laughs that happen, and who's getting the joke. And sometimes there's only a few people that get it, but then other people like finally get it. It was so good.
Yeah,
so
good. If you ever watch the Comedy Central special, and everyone there's a guy in the front row who is losing his mind the entire time for the first 40 minutes. He's the only one laughing the entire time, and Mitch just keeps looking at him because he's like, "Oh man, where's it?"
but that's good. He knows he was doing well because that one guy, he's like, "Oh, I got him.
I got him. I need to get the rest of the 150 people." Whatever. But so if
bro, we got to end this here or soon, because we could just basically just keep badly saying his jokes.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious.
And let people actually listen to the jokes.
Yeah, everyone needs to listen to this album, and like we said, we're gonna leave the link to the letter, leave the link to the transcript, so that you can see the jokes that weren't in the edited version of this album, so you can experience what the whole album is. And also just to see it. I mean, the transcription is also a little flawed, but just to get a taste of how much of a master writer he is. Manny, you just read something else. You're losing your mind.
I think Bigfoot is blurry.
Oh,
that's the problem. The photographer. It's not the photographer's fault. Bigfoot is blurry, and that's extra scary to me because there's a large, out-of-focus monster roaming the countryside. Run! He's fuzzy. Get out of here.
That is one of the most amazing when I was listening to that, I was listening to it today, and that joke came up. I was just laughing to myself because it was just, and I was saying it out loud. That's why, like, when you listen to this, and you listen to it over and over again, you want to say these jokes. You want to hear them out loud. You want to say them. That's why I love Mitch Hedberg, and that's why listening to Mitch
You
Hedberg
should
is
never
so
tell
good.
somebody that they have a nice dimple because maybe they got shot by a BB gun. Shut up.
Oh my God! So Manny,
Dude, I mean, everybody knows the answer on this one.
does
Everybody knows that
the
this doesn't
strategic
pass the
grill
test. This
does it
this
pass the
blows
nostalgia
the
test?
test away. It brings me back to the first time I ever listened to it. It keeps me going. I will not get tired of that album. This album has standed the test of time. It even stands the test, I would say, of politically correctness. It's done so well. I mean, I could go back and see, but I don't even think there'd be something like, "Ooh, can't believe he said that then." You know, like that you wouldn't say it now. But it's so good. That's enough said, man. I'm always going to be listening to this album.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Hedberg is probably one of the, if not my favorite comedian of all time. And definitely up. No, he is. He's my favorite comedian of all time.
Yeah, I have to agree. Mitch Hedberg passes the nostalgia test. We've been recommending it since the beginning of the episode. This album, Mitch Altogether, what is the Oh My Gosh one, or I forget what the third. There's another.
The third one, after he passed.
Yeah, and I would say go to YouTube and watch all his appearances on Letterman and his appearances on Just for Laughs. Mitch Hedberg is I agree, Manny, probably one of my, if not my favorite comedian. He's fun. His jokes are meant to have a good time with, and they age so well. They don't age. They're timeless.
Dude, none of this it's not offensive. It's just funny.
Yeah,
it's observational humor with great writing.
Yeah.
Great setup.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And then that's the thing, though, about comedy. You know how, like, right now people saying you can't be funny these days. But, like, Mitch Hedberg, his jokes are still funny. And I 100% believe that if he was still alive, he would be able to be funny. Because he was always funny. And he was pushing the boundaries of comedy in a different way. It was not in a way to kind of shock the audience about, I can't believe he said that, in that way where you get offended. And then you would debate about whether it's offensive or not. It was like, I can't believe he said that. I would never have thought of it that way. And then you see what he said in real life. That was the thing I love about his jokes. You see them in real life. You see his jokes everywhere. You walk around and his jokes are there. And I appreciate Mitch Hedberg for that. I appreciate everything he's doing.
Dude, I just can't stop, man. I can't stop. Last week I helped my friend stay put. It's a lot easier than helping somebody move.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right, guys.
But
I mean, we could go on. I'm going to say one more.
Go
one
ahead.
more,
Final
Danny.
word. Final words, Manny.
My friend asked me if I wanted a frozen banana. I said no, but I wanted a regular banana later. So, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Mitch Hedberg, thank you. Mitch Hedberg, thank you for everything you've left for us. This is great. Everyone, listen to Mitch. Manny is losing his mind. Everyone, listen to Mitch Hedberg. Appreciate Mitch Hedberg. Share your memories about Mitch Hedberg on our Twitter and Instagram. And if you're a big Mitch Hedberg fan, tell people to listen, because I think more people need to have amazing comedy in their lives that is about good times. And that's Mitch Hedberg. That's what he does. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Nostalgia Test Podcast. Manny, thank you. Good episode.
You got it, bro.
I'm going to stop this.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test Podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter @NostalgiaTest and on Instagram @TheNostalgiaTest. Tune in next time because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.